I've always considered myself a very family oriented person. I can admit to you now that I had my son for insanely selfish reasons. I was at a point in my life where I was alone and sad, and I wanted somebody who would love me and never leave me, and a kid seemed to be the obvious answer. So I had a kid. 20 years later, almost 21 now. Wow. He's still with me. He is still the absolute love of my life. I adore him. And he is every bit the man that I hoped he would be. Actually, that's a lie. I did have plans for Kari. I had a direction that I wanted him to go in, but as his own person, he had his own things in mind, and he has gone off in a completely different direction. But I am no more and no less proud of him for it. In fact, if anything, I would hold him in a higher esteem because he has become the man he wanted to be on his own terms. Quite like the way my father let me. I mean, I stumbled a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, but he allowed me to become my own person in my own way. And I appreciate that. And that's what I tried to do for my son. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about my kid. This was more or less about family. Asia's little sister was in town for the holidays, and it's always good to see her. Like, I met Micah when she was 9 years old. Now she's this grown woman off in college, and there were times where our relationship was shaky. Asia's mom didn't always necessarily approve of me, and that kind of trickled down to her siblings. But now I can say that we're in a happy place where her mother loves me and I love her mom right back. And her brother and sister love me. The point that I was trying to make where I started off with all of this is that we don't do things in our family like half brother or step brother or brother in law. Family is just family. It is what it is. Those labels that differentiate everybody from everybody else, we completely ignore. Like, for example, I don't necessarily call Asia's mother mom, but when I talk to Asia about it, I will reference her as mom, but I never say, oh, my mother in law, or your mother, or Crystal. Like, I always just say, oh, it's mom. When talking about Micah and Michael, who are Asia's siblings, I always say my little sister Micah or my little brother Michael. Like, there's never that differential. Even more to the point, her mom remarried a guy. And even though they're on the rocks now, it doesn't look like that's going to work out. They've been separated for a while, and we don't see his kids anymore. He had kids, and we refer to them as our brothers and sisters. It's like, so they going to be step brother and sister in law? Like, no, we don't fuss with that. Family is very important to me, and it's all inclusive when we go out, or even better. Kari talks to a lot of people over the computer. He's got his headset. He plays Xbox Live. He's more a PC guy, but whatever. When he's got his headphones on and he's talking to his friends, he always says, my parents. Or if he's making reference to Asia, he says, oh, my mom is making such and such for dinner. It's never like, oh, my stepmother Asia did this. Or if we're out and about, and we introduce ourselves like, oh, hi, I'm Patrick, this is my wife Asia, this is our son Kari. Or even better, sometimes I'll just let Asia do it, and she'll be like, yeah, this is my husband and this is our son. And that's just because there are no such things as half or step or in-law. Family's just family, and that's a mindset that I've kept with me my entire life. I mean, as a little kid who always wanted family. And it's funny because my parents divorced when I was 12, and they gave us the choice of who we wanted to go live with. And I didn't realize how much that affected me as a person until like 30 years later. So in my mid 30s, I was dealing with the fact that I did not have a stable family growing up. It was my father remarried real quick, and as a kid I was like, oh, I got a new mom, but she didn't necessarily feel that way. And I had new brothers, and they didn't necessarily feel that way. So I wrestled with that quite a bit. So now, like in my late 30s, it really hit me how I needed that stability in my life. So now here I am. I can happily. I'm 42 years old. I've been married for almost 5 years. I've been with this girl over 9 years, and we're stable and we're happy and things are good. Like financially, things are not always the best. I mean, we had a really good start to 2017. I was working and everything was fine. I got laid off, and even now, unemployment is taking care of everything. Like nothing gets turned off. We never worry about the lights going off or an eviction notice or anything like that. There's just not a lot of extra. But we're good and we're stable and we're happy. And I like to think that part of it is because of the mindset that we said family is family. Like, mom will call and she'll say, "Hey, Pooh." Well, not to me, she Asia Pooh. She said, "Hey, Pooh, I need $40 until Friday." And we go, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Here you go." And then Friday will roll around. She'll be like, "Oh, here you go." We're like, "No, no, don't even worry about it." Because there are many times when we'll need something, we'll be $20 short for something, and we'll call her up and she'll go, "Oh, I'll put it in your bank account now, Pooh." And she sends it on over. And then at the end of the week, we go, "Hey, here's that 20 we owe you." It's always a courtesy that we say, "Hey, here's the money we owe you," even though we know she's not going to take it. But we make sure that we extend that to her so we're not taking advantage. It's just family comes first. Earlier this year, when I got my taxes back, our sister, I say our sister, hi Ray, our sister, who was in New York at the time, now she's in LA, but she was like, "Hey, I need $900." And we were in the market to try to buy a used car, and she says, "I need $900." Hey, no question, Western Union that shit right on over, and her problems were fine. She paid us back slowly, a few hundred at a time. I mean, because come on, that was $900. I wasn't gonna be like, "No, no, it's fine. We don't need $900." But the fact was, family needed something, family steps up. That's what family does. There are a lot of videos, if you start going back on this channel, especially towards the beginning, where I was real big on family. And honestly, there was a time when I was a little entitled, where I felt like, well, because we're family, you should help and you should do this. But I was using that as the excuse of I shouldn't try as hard to do it myself. And that was wrong. I like to be able to go back and look at how I was and how I am now and see that there is progression. Even when we started these videos at the beginning of 2016, there's been progression. You can see I've changed as a person. Asia's viewpoint has changed as a person. You've watched Kari grow. Like, it's been a wild fucking ride, man. And we're having a blast. Like, this has been one of the best decisions I ever made. Just coming to California, being with Asia, getting married, settling down, planting my roots in California. It's been an experience, and I am a better person for it. And again, I think a lot of that stems from family takes care of family. When one of us needs something, we all need something. Like when the last time I was on unemployment, talking like way back, and I was making like this much on unemployment. Kari went out and got a job. Asia went out and got a job, and they would give me their paychecks. "Here you go, do what you have to do." And that's because when family needs help, family steps up. Kari knew that us not being able to make the rent meant nobody had a place to live, so he stepped up because that's you expect that from family, right? So we try to foster that sort of attitude here, and it works here for us. Now, we'll admit that we have some family members whom I don't necessarily share that sentiment with, because I've noticed that it's a lot of give, and and then there's no receive from them. They'll call and say, "Hey, I need $100. Hey, I need $50. Hey, can you do this?" And we go, "Oh yeah, hashtag family first." And we send out money, and then when the time for it to come back, it's like they're just not existent. Now, keep in mind that for little things like $20, $30, I'm not gonna sweat you about it. But would you purposely avoid me on that day? That bothers me. That hurts me as a person. Also, before I get out of here, I didn't mean to be as long winded as I was. Family doesn't necessarily mean blood. I have family members whom are family because I have chosen for them to be family. For example, Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa, who watches our shit religiously. When we need help, Vanessa steps up. She says, "Oh, what do you need?" And she sends it on back. Now, there's a difference between sending it to me and it's like, hey, can you loan me money? Because I always make the gesture, hey, here's the money that I owe you. And I don't do that with, here's the money I owe you. You better not take it. Here it is. If you were in a bad way and you sent this to me so I wouldn't have to be in a bad way, I want to make sure that I get that back to you. So when she loans me money, I do my best to get it back to her. That's important to me. But again, as family, even though we share not one drop of blood anywhere. That's my sister. I love my sister, and I will be there for her from here to the end of time. Seriously. Hey, I'm gonna go because I hear Asia coming out the shower and she's gonna walk in, and that's not a sight I want to show you guys on YouTube. So I'm just gonna cut this off now.